foremost, welcome to the 2024 CNC Connect Conference. It's been 5 years since our last conference, and it's great to see everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Court Fowler, President of CNC, and again, I'm happy everybody's here.
Hey everybody, Murphy Buggs here with CNC. I'm the Property Training Manager. We're here at CNC Connect 2024. We've had some great guests. We've had some breakout sessions on the flood and the property side, getting ready to start our general sessions this afternoon. So we're really looking forward to that. There's been a lot of CE credits that's been offered and great exhibitors with great vendors that we've partnered with for this conference and in future endeavors throughout our claims handling process.
Hi, my name is Craig Kepner. I'm a new independent adjuster. It's been a fantastic experience. Really, the sponsors, the leadership here, the knowledge that I've been able to pick up, but then really especially really connecting with the other new adjusters.
The speakers have been fantastic. We got a chance to see a lot of people that we would never see, from the insurance commissioner of Alabama, to Hal, the weather guy.
The favorite part, well, it has to be, getting to see everybody. I know with COVID, there weren't very many opportunities, and I love to make new friends and see some of the faces behind those phone calls that I've been having here for about the last year or so.
The conference was awesome. It was well put together, very well organized, and the conference would mean nothing without the people. So the people that were here were awesome as well. All of the classes were very informative. It was easy flow from one classroom to the next, and the information that we got was very pertinent to what we do every day.
So the CNC Connect really, brought everybody together. Just like Mr. Fowler said, it's about connect. And the connection that we made at this conference is really gonna go beyond this past 3 days.
We just wrapped up day 3 of our conference, CNC Connect 2024. We had a fantastic conference. Today was our certification day where we did a lot of carrier-specific certifications. It went great, went fantastic. Want to do a big thank you to all of our sponsors, obviously all of our attendees, everybody that made this possible. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms as you look to stay connected with us throughout 2024.
I've worked with CNC since 2008 at Hurricane Ike. I've done, I believe, 7 or 8 hurricane deployments with them. My experience with CNC has been nothing short of amazing. Anytime CNC asks me if I'm available, I always say yes. They are my #1 choice anytime I'm going to be deploying for a major event. They are trustworthy. I love working with them.
I've been working on Hurricane Ian flood claims for the last 6 days. This is my first year working for CNC, and it's been a great experience. I've had so much support and so much training through so many different people at the company. If there's one person who can't help me right away, they'll get me to somebody who can, and that's been the main reason why I've wanted to stick with CNC this year, is because of the amount of support that they've provided, and they're really helping me excel.
When I think back to where we started, there's one thing that still is a thread in the lining from where we were, where we started till now, and look at that as family-run business. The family values, the goal to respect everybody as individuals, treat everybody as family.
It's just how much people love to work here and love being here, and the commitment that they have to each other and the commitment they have to the company. I can't say that you found that in all places. I'm sure you do find it in some places, but man, we've got people that work here 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning deploying people. They never complain. They never ask for anything special. I think that's definitely a great example of an aha moment that people really do love being here, and they love what they do. And when you have that type of team, then to me, you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish as a team.
The minute you walk in the door, you're gonna feel welcomed. You're going to see a smile on people's faces, and you're going to feel like you're home. I have for 17 years now. I have had that feeling from day one, and I still have that feeling.
It's the family atmosphere. I mean, you're going to hear that from everybody that's here. It's the family atmosphere. It's being a part of something, and having the opportunity to grow. It's all about what you want to put into it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Claims Corner Season 5, Part 3 of our Light It Up series that we've been doing. Got some new guests today, as you can see with us. Some of them you've seen previously, just not in our Light It Up series. So again, we've done parts 1 and 2 up until this point. I had a lot of great feedback. I would say it's probably been 2 of our best episodes of the season, maybe of all time. That's still for the jury to determine. So again, 2 great episodes. We're super happy to bring you a third one. We got some great feedback, people that wanted to see more information, especially from the adjuster and the mitigation side, which we will get into shortly. So again, thank you for joining us. My name is Murphy Buggs, Property Training Manager here at CNC. With us today is Rusty Garrett. Rusty, you want to give your little bio, intro?
Hey guys, Property Manager here at CNC. Very excited to be here today, Murphy. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Julie is also with us today.
Hey.
And T-John. T-John, some people obviously know you, seen your face. You've been on previous episodes for Claims Corner. You were at our conference back in January. People have seen you on a bunch of our content, but if they have not, give us kind of a brief summary, what you do, where you are.
Absolutely. So we have ServPro of Mobile County and ServPro of Houston, 2 locations. We've been in business probably 15 years now, if I'm not mistaken. My brother and I own the company, and have really enjoyed the relationship we've developed with you guys and been in the mitigation industry. It's been fun.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been doing that?
Gosh, 15 years
Okay.
at this point.
All right. Yeah, because I know as long as I've been here, which is obviously not that long, I've known you. Or I feel like I've read your name at some point. So, again, we really appreciate T-John being here. You were actually, again, back at our conference in January. We did a wind versus water class with an expert, an adjuster, and a mitigation. That was really, really fun. I think that's somewhere we have saved. That the people want to see that. I think we have that recorded somewhere. But that was a great segment we did. So, again, today our biggest focus on the part 3 of the Light It Up series is the mitigation side, right? So we did the first video where we did the accelerants, right? The gasoline, and I know you saw those too, the acetone, the paint thinner, things like that. Part 2, we went into like a regular old house fire, right? With a chair catching on fire, with a table and a drape and, you know, even drywall and a grease fire, which I know was very exciting. Made us all very nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
Did it make you nervous?
Well, I got flashbacks. It was my problem.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. The worst fire to clean up is the grease fire. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, and I guess that's the thing of it too, is like you're obviously not there when the fire's going on, right? You're there when the fire's done with, right?
Right.
So
that's my goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be
only if business is slow, but that's another story.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So when you initially you get that first, assignment sent to ServPro to do any type of smoke, fire mitigation, what are some kind of check boxes in your head that you're like, all right, I've got to make sure I've got this and this. I need to speak to this person and that person. How does that whole process work for you, just in a kind of a checklist form, really?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously you've got the crew side of it, and you've always have to be at the ready. As you all know, in this business, there is no plan.
Right.
Nobody ever can sit around and go, I know Tuesday this building's
So
going to catch
yeah.
fire.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got all the products and the chemical and the people and the training. That's all led up to. The biggest checklist for us once we're in the moment is really more on the managerial side, in the sense of our people, our project managers, making sure they're prepared and they're following that checklist, first and foremost around communication. Oddly enough, completely not planned, especially so the fire department knows, this week, literally 2 days ago, we had a 3-unit mini strip center that caught fire, and we were called out. Yeah, and so right off the bat, the biggest thing for us is the communication side. Get on site, meet with the owner, meet with the tenants, make sure you understand who all the players are, set expectations around how the process is going to go. If they have that adjuster's information, get on the horn with them immediately while you're on site. This exact situation, it went exactly as it should, and thankfully, a lot of training pays off. But it's the ability, the adjuster wasn't there, and she had questions. Well, do me a favor, can you tell me what type of roof is it? What does it look like? What's the building material? How's the building built? What are you seeing here and there? And we were able to walk them through the site over the phone, and if FaceTime we've done before, and give them a better sense of what they're walking into before they get there. So they can start their checklist, which I'm sure you have, and be able to go from there. Once the work starts, I'll be honest, Murphy, that's just the repetition and kind of that muscle memory piece. But I can't emphasize the communication's the biggest thing. You've got to have that right off the bat.
Yeah, and I know Rusty can speak to this too, and Julie. From the training side, we can train you so much on the repetition and how to do the actual job. But the other kind of innate ability is the communication and the customer service aspect, the staying there with them and answering
100%.
the questions as you go. That's the stuff you really can't teach. It kind of has to just be natural. So to your point,
Yeah, it's so important though.
Yeah. All right. So, what type of safety precautions do you do, or does a lot of that depend on what kind of fire we're talking about here? So, obviously, we know you got equipment and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, the equipment, and you make a great point. The equipment and things like that, it's always the first thing that comes to mind, but that's more the physical nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
The people side is what we have to worry about.
Sure.
And you have to remember, you're walking into an area very different than a water loss that's a standard kind of supply line break.
Right.
You're in, frankly, a pretty contaminated area.
Right.
You don't, as our first glance, we don't know what all has burned in that home.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if bottles of chemical were burned up, and then there's things that are residues on whatnot. So obviously you've got the standards. The PPE is the biggest piece for our people. We've got to make sure they're safe. Yeah. Wearing nitrals, if need be, Tyvek sleeves. We've done that in some situations. I'll be frank, the biggest thing that I see either in videos and photos of other companies and things that have happened, thankfully we don't run into this much, is you got to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Just protect yourself.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Get an N95.
Yeah.
Make sure there's a lot floating around, debris, whatnot in the air.
Again, you especially when you don't know what all has been burned to that extent. Absolutely.
Before
That's
you
a
get
very
on site.
important point.
Yeah, you kind of look like Walter White,
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Now, does an adjuster have to wear those kind of masks too?
Oh, it's
like when
definitely
you
encouraged.
Okay.
Exactly for the same reasons.
Yeah.
You know, it's especially on an exaggerated loss where the loss is to a greater extent.
Right.
You know, absolutely encouraged. And it's never going to be a bad thing. You know, as far as that PPE, it's better safe than sorry, as we've mentioned in previous.
So what you're saying is any good adjuster should have that readily
Absolutely,
available,
readily
especially
available.
in a fire loss. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I'll say this, if nothing else, you show up, and it's funny, we dealt with this again this week, and I happened to be on the phone with one of our people when it happened. If you don't bring one, if you don't have one, if you don't have an N95 in your vehicle, ask the mitigator.
Yeah.
They should have plenty.
Absolutely.
Right. And I listened to
true,
the customer say that. She's like, oh my gosh, do you have a mask? We're like, of course we have masks. Not a problem. So,
because I'm sure that happens, right? The person gets out there and they're not,
well,
maybe
especially
not
because you don't
totally
think
prepared.
about it. You don't think about it until you're eye to eye with it, so to speak, and you're looking in going, holy mackerel.
And a lot of times, like you said earlier, you can explain it over the phone and verbally so many times, but again, especially on those larger losses, you don't really know what you're dealing with until you're there physically looking at it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is there such thing as being over prepared for a fire loss? Because look, you can talk to somebody on the phone and it's the greatest fire they've ever seen, and to you, it's maybe not as major.
Right.
But then, hey, by the same time, they can say, oh, it's not a big deal, and you got out there and you're like, no, this is a big deal. Is there a such thing as over preparing?
No.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times for any type of loss, fire, water, what have you, it's not that bad. We had a little fried chicken caught fire in the kitchen. It's okay. And the kitchen, living room, and 2 bedrooms are smoked out, and half a wall's burned up, and you're like, oh my gosh, this was nothing.
Yeah.
At the same time, you can have somebody says, my whole house burnt down. It's totally trashed. It's non-salvageable anything, and it's a straight line about 12 inches wide, kind of coming up a cabinet.
But it's a big deal to them.
Well, well, that's it. We've said this to our people a ton. Their tragedy and their perception is their perception.
Absolutely.
Sure. We've got to respect that.
Right.
And it's tough in our industry because we see it so much that we have to be able to go, look, we can't ever get jaded around it. We have to be able to go in with their eyes and say, hey, I know this is tough. We're going to get you through it. Regardless if we're looking around going, we'll knock this out
Be
in an hour.
empathetic towards that. Yeah, absolutely.
Have to.
Yeah, because I think you can almost, even as an adjuster too, you can almost get conditioned to it. You see it so often, and
exactly.
It's water off a duck's back, but to them, it's the biggest thing
it's
they've had to
catastrophic.
deal with. Yeah. So absolutely, yeah. Now you just had a commercial fire, not the strip mall, but I believe it was a grocery store.
We did. We had a grocery store. Crazy story. They had a gentleman who walked in off the street and walked to a certain aisle, put accelerants on items, and lit it on fire out of nowhere.
Do you know what they were?
The accelerant?
Yeah.
Lighter fluid.
Okay.
Yeah.
We saw that.
Yeah.
We'll actually show that again here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
And much like in that video, the speed at which that takes off is incredible.
Yeah.
Kudos to the people at this store. Their employees actually jumped in, knocked the guy down.
Oh, dang.
Thankfully, everyone's safe.
Yeah.
No one got hurt.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, and I think we may talk about this a little later, minimal damage from a fire, but that fire suppression system went off. it was a whole nother ball game after that. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that happen with a fire that has nothing to do with a fire.
With the actual fire itself, yeah.
May I interlude with a question? Is there added pressure, especially on a commercial loss where you have active businesses that are involved with the loss, to realize that you're a necessity to get them back to business?
Absolutely.
That their employees are dependent on how well you do your job and how readily.
How quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
How quickly we get
Yeah.
it. Yeah, no, 100%. And I'll say this, it always comes in the kindest manner. But at the end of the day, these are mostly and usually independent business owners.
Sure.
And every day is a huge consequence to them. This fire I was talking about that happened just a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
First day, when are we going to reopen?
Mm-hmm.
One of the tenants was a restaurant. They're like, when are we going to reopen? Family owned. We got to get back open. We're like, look, we need to help you understand. This is going to take a hot minute.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get somebody who comes in, examines the fire, gets your coverage confirmed, make sure we don't get over our skis.
Yeah.
That's, Rusty, to your point, it's a tough thing because you're staring at the person they want so desperately just to get themselves and their people back to work. And it's just having to keep reassuring and informing that process so they can understand, look, don't sit at home wringing your hands. It's going to take a minute. It will not be tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
And it's tough, but it's real.
Yeah, and I think a piece of that is, too, ServPro, any mitigation company, they go out there and they say, hey, we would love for it all to be paid for. But in all reality, you can't just go doing a bunch of work that may not be approved or covered by somebody else because then, who's on the line for that?
Right.
Well, that's it. And that's obligating a customer, and that's something we, within our company, but I'm sure we're not the only ones, but I can obviously speak for us, we're very aware of that. And I think it's a lot because of a lot of the storm work we do, because of a lot of the large loss work we do. We have had that experience to understand if we get in there and just get after it, and then we over-obligate that customer, that's a really tough conversation to have.
Absolutely.
We'd rather do all the prep on the front end and avoid it if we can.
Yeah. Gotcha. So in a residential fire or a commercial fire, is there a difference in the two, or is a burn just a burn is a burn?
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference when you talk about the nuts and bolts of the remediation.
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, smoke is smoke.
Right.
Soot is soot.
Right.
Damage to material is damage to material.
Right.
But there are absolutely factors just because of the nature of those two different entities. Rusty already hit one of them. It's like, look, I got to get my people back in here. I've got to get a business going. We've got to make payroll, so on and so forth. Obviously, a homeowner doesn't feel that much different.
Yeah.
I want to get back in my home. But at the end of the day, the insurance company is there to support them, and they can go get a VRBO, or they can get into a hotel.
Yeah.
They can do some things to accommodate those losses easier.
Right.
The commercial business, an insurance company can't turn to them and go, oh, it's okay, we've got a spot over here where you can reopen your restaurant today.
Absolutely.
So it is a
Doesn't
different
work that way,
dynamic from the people side, very different.
Yeah.
From the work side,
Yeah.
I mean, getting soot off of materials is the same if you're commercial or residential.
So, and obviously you talking about it too, you make it, and I'm not saying this as a slight, but you make it sound easy, right? Them going out and doing the job like what they're supposed to do. How long does it take for somebody to get fully trained up to know how to do mitigation on a fire job or a smoke job?
Gosh, I'll tell you what, we personally have a program. Whenever we bring in a crew member, there's a 3-month training program.
Okay, yeah.
That we have to do because it is dynamic. Now, here's the other piece. You just have to be smart. You can't take that person, even if they've been in a training program for 3 months, you can't take that person and throw them out on a fire. You've got to team them up with some people who have years of experience. And then, of course, there's IICRC certifications, things like that that really help. But I have a phrase I tell our people. It's like, look, you can be trained and certified all you want, but until you have enough at-bats, you've got to have that life experience. Yeah. You're just never going to know.
Yeah.
And like you said,
experience.
Yeah, and like you said, it's that repetition. But here's the fun part, at least for us in our minds, it's never the same.
Yeah, everything's
There's
a little bit
always something that's a different dynamic where you're going, okay, well, that's new. We need to figure out how to deal with that.
Yep, and adjusters say it all the time.
That's exactly
Every
right.
claim is its own claim.
Absolutely.
No claim is the same.
So I have a question. Whenever you guys have gone into fire losses, have you ever gone in, and everything's been cleared, but then someone finds a hot spot or something where you have to back out and then go back in? And what does that look like? Like, is it
a lot of running? Very, very quick movement, lots of rear ends. That's basically all of that.
No. What I mean is like, are you halfway through? Have you ever gotten halfway through? You're cleaning up, and then someone hits a hot spot in a different place, or is it? I mean, really, what do you do? Because is that work that you've already done is it like
For nothing.
for nothing?
Negated.
Negated,
For any time. Yeah, so I will say this, and I have to say this because in fairness to the fire departments, they do such a great job.
Oh, absolutely.
It's very rare that we'll see a hotspot because, by the way, they do that for a living. We just clean it for a living.
Right.
Right.
But we have had situations where we're going through, and you know what the funny thing is, what tends to happen more than anything? It's attics. There's a lot in an attic where you think you've got it, and all of a sudden something just kind of starts smoldering up in a corner that nobody knew.
Yeah.
And the good part, at least in our experience, it's never been, like to your point, it's a hot spot. It's never been, oh my gosh, this half of the house is on fire again.
Right.
It's
never
kind
to
of,
that extent.
hey, there's a smolder. I think I saw something. And then our first step is clear the house. Just
Right.
get out,
Okay.
everybody out, fire department comes in. As far as the rework kind of side of it,
Right.
no, typically not. And here's the whys, is that when we're coming in to do this type of work, by the time we're mobilized, we've got adjuster communication, we've got everybody on the same page. They may have had to do a fire investigation. All those things, there's a decent amount of time that's
Right.
passed. When I say decent day, 2 days, maybe 3, depends.
Right.
We have one right now that's been pending for 2 weeks for
Wow.
for a cause investigation.
Yeah.
So those kind of things should have popped up. When those hot spots are discovered, typically it's our project manager who's on site, not all the crews.
Okay.
Because I will say this, and it's an interesting point that peels off of it. Fires just move slower than water. It
They
really
do.
does.
Yeah.
And in one way, I think it's a good thing.
Sure.
But like we were chatting about before, Rusty, at the same time, it's really tough because
Sure.
nobody understands. Well, why? Why can't it all happen today?
Right.
It's like, well, it's just fire's just a different animal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
and on the surface it can feel cool, everything can feel fine, but depending on the material or whatever, it can still be so hot on the inside
yeah.
that a few days later, just the right amount of wind or just the right circumstance, it can pop up again.
Something
so that's
that's
why I was curious.
embedded under layers and layers
Right.
of material
Right.
that everything looks good, but eventually you give it enough time, it starts to kind of poke
Yeah.
its head back out, so
Okay.
to speak.
Just curious.
Yeah. Okay. Is there ever a situation, we kind of touched on it earlier, but I do want to revisit this. Is there ever a situation where you go out to a mitigation job and you say, okay, no problem, fire, smoke, what have you. But then you get out there and you realize whoever put it out, fire department, policyholder, suppression system, has taken it from this level to this level. And now it's a much larger project than what initially you thought it would be.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that the biggest culprit is definitely the fire suppression systems.
Yeah.
Do that.
And
And
for
that's
the
just
folks that don't know, that's the ceiling sprinklers.
It's
yeah.
recessed
Yeah.
sprinklers in
Yeah,
the ceiling, and you know you get a little heat or the glass breaks, pressure shifts, and then it goes off. Typically, it's not singular.
Right.
There are probably a lot of people, if you haven't known it, they're like, oh well, there was a fire here, there was a sprinkler there, so it just sprayed it and got the fire. Not how it works.
Right.
If it goes, at best, if you're lucky, it goes off in zones.
Yeah, so it trips 'em, yeah.
Great example, the story we were talking about earlier, the loss at the grocery store. That aisle that had the fire, obviously 100% suppression system did its job. Downside was that aisle was also, I think, if I remember correctly, about 4 aisles wide of that zone of the suppression system. On top of that, you get 4 zones wide, then you're 4 aisles wide. Then you have such a nobody can understand until you're there how much water those suppression systems put out. You see this little teeny nozzle, and it is pumping so much water. The store was end to end.
Yeah.
And that water's Cat 3. So
Wow.
it's a whole new dynamic around what it creates. And it's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast, and that's what happens.
Yeah, and how does that Cat 3 water, is just over time not being used, settle in there?
That's 100% right. You got it, Murphy. It's because there's 2 different types of systems as far as water is concerned. You can have a charged system or a system that's not charged.
Okay.
The charged system is exactly that. They put the water into the pipes, and it's pressurized pretty much at a consistent level. And so when that fire happens or it kicks on, it immediately just pushes that water out. Well, as everybody can imagine, you could never have a fire in your entire life and have a suppression system. So when it goes off, that water could have been sitting there for 1 year, 5 years, 20 years. And by that time, it's kind of nasty.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now, you mentioned Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3. For our viewers and listeners, where can they go to identify the familiarity to be able to recognize, okay, what's Cat 1 mean, what's Cat 2 mean, what's Cat 3?
Yeah, there's this, it's a really great device we've used. It's a cool thing. It's called Google.
Yeah.
We have that. It's called the
How do
Google
you-
machine. Yeah.
You guys have
it too?
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
That's exactly right. No, in all seriousness, that really is it.
Yeah.
And IICRC obviously has a
That's
very
what I was
technical
saying.
nature,
Yeah.
Yep.
and they'll
Yeah.
go into it. But here's the thing: is the categories have become such a topic that most mitigation companies, through blogs and different things they do just from marketing efforts, really have run through and given a lot of great information to the general public around those categories.
And aren't efforts changed as far as what level?
Oh, yeah.
You know, if it's Cat 1, okay, my effort level is this.
Oh, yeah.
And my resources and my equipment used to remediate that are this, depending on that category of...
100%.
Yeah.
It's well, and I'll say this, as far as we're kind of shifting towards water a little bit as the byproduct of the fire, but yes, the equipment stays the same. It's all about methodology.
Yeah. Right.
Case in point, that store, take it, when the fire happened, you know, we can wipe things and clean off smoke damage, soot, whatever. But once that Cat 3 hits semi-porous, porous material, i.e. cardboard packaging for stuff, it's got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, you just end up having to dispose of a lot of material that way and things that have to happen.
Yeah.
That's the toughest part.
Yeah.
Gotcha. We had a couple smoke videos that we had from part 1 and part 2 that we wanted to kind of overlay here so we can talk over them.
Yeah.
As a mitigator, when you see that black smoke right there, obviously you're not going to see it at the time, right? But the effects of that black smoke, does that differ if it's the clear smoke or the white smoke? Does that change what you see from the after effects on the mitigation side?
Yeah, so I think, in my personal opinion, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason is this, and I can't tell you the scientific nature behind, well, when we burned the mineral spirits, you could barely see any smoke, and so does it really cause damage? Here's how we look at it. We have to independently test all those areas, but I can 100% tell you, when y'all lit that first carpet sample, it had an impact. I was like, good gosh, that's a smoke. And we talk about that. When we personally, internally talk about fires, we talk about them in terms of smoke level.
Yeah.
Like how smoked out is it, things like that. That was a ton of smoke being put off. And you do that in a house, and it's going to get messy real fast. The lighter stuff, you still test and see what you can pick up. But it's just the cleaning's a lot easier. It's not near as thick.
Is it, again, I'm speaking as a layperson, I don't know. When you get out there, is the key indicator the smell or the sight of it?
You know,
the smoke, I should say.
It's neither. And here's why.
Okay.
Because if you stand in a fire long enough, you start to not smell it. So
That's
your
true.
senses can absolutely deceive you.
Right.
And for soot, you can have soot damage into the visual eye, the naked eye. You don't even see it. So
Really?
what we do in our industry is we carry test sponges. So rubber sponges is what you do to get off of a wall, and to get the soot off. Because if you try to use a wet product, it actually will push it into the drywall. Yeah. So you need to get the soot off with a rubber sponge. So we have little sample size rubber sponges, and we literally will go from the point in the house and run through every room and test walls, everything.
And what about the ductwork?
Well, the duct work, depending on where the return is. That's a great point. If you have, let's just say hypothetically, you've got a large residential loss, all the returns are, say, on the east end of the home, and the fire was really, truly contained to the west end, but those returns are over here, there's a chance that your ductwork is going to be okay as far as for the entirety of the home. Now, the downside is you're going to end up having to clean all the ducts anyway. Because if they came up this register on one side, then it's not as bad. But we've 100% been in those situations where that return is close to source or in a heavier smoked area. And at that point, you absolutely need to be diligent in going to all corners of the house, because there is a very high likelihood that it has been pushed everywhere. Even if you don't see it on the wall, even if you think there's no way it got over here, you need to test it.
Yeah, it's still common practice to do everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah, especially I would think in a closed area like a house or a business, you know, where it's not going to escape out an open doorway or a window.
Right. Yeah. Has smoke ever damaged drywall to the point you couldn't clean it?
Yes, it's got to be pretty severe, but 100%. Yeah. Because drywall is porous. So if you have a fire that was a really long burn or a heavy smoke, there are points where you're going, look, we just can't get this out.
Okay.
But I will say this, even when I was new to the industry, I can absolutely remember being kind of shocked how well we could salvage things, how well we can salvage material, how well we can salvage belongings, stuff that I'd looked at going, oh, there's no way we're going to get that. Right. And then all of a sudden our team gets to it, and I was like, wow, that doesn't look like it's in a fire.
You know, you talked about it sounds Easy. Rubber sponge. Can anybody buy those? Can anybody buy that equipment, or is that something specific to what you do?
No, I mean, well, for us as a ServPro, we have proprietary chemicals that we use.
Sure.
But by no means is ServPro the only chemical manufacturer out there.
Right.
There's absolutely websites out there, John Donne, all sorts of places where you can buy these materials. It's less about the materials and it's more about understanding how to use them. Like anything in life, right? Same thing. It's you can buy. I'll take myself for an example. You can buy me the best set of tools known to man.
Yeah.
And I don't have a clue what to do with it.
Sure.
I'm the least handy person in the world. But so it's way less about the instrument. It's more about the musician in a way.
Well, it called back to one of our previous episodes with the hip lock and all that kind of stuff, getting up on the roof, and the guy was telling us that from Tennessee Valley Training Center, he was like, you can have all this equipment, you can have all these harnesses and everything, but if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to do you any good.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you this: I don't play golf, but I will tell you this: go out to a golf course. You see the guy that is dressed to the nines, has the newest driver, and then is shanking every single ball.
Yeah.
It's like,
Absolutely.
that's not going to get you there, buddy.
Yeah, it's a great example.
All right, so like on this one, we had the kitchen fire, right?
Yeah.
This
one gave me nightmares.
This one gave us all a bit of a scare. Obviously, it expands over time. It gets greater. Grease falls out. Fire gets more intense. I wish we could have hung that cabinet on top, but we can only do so much as we were staging it.
Yeah, and your assessment is 100%. Grease fires can get out of hand so fast.
That did.
I mean, that's it, and that's indicative of
Yeah.
what it is. How many times, I can't tell you how many times we hear the stories of, I put the oil on the stove and I got one phone call, or
Turn my back.
I just went to get the mail or whatever, and there you go, there goes the kitchen.
Yeah.
And grease fires are tough because they're a different kind of clean, because you're dealing with not just with smoke and with soot, but the grease element where it's mixed in.
Yeah.
It's just a tougher
Sticky.
clean. And
Yeah.
It is. It's very sticky.
I mean, not that I know from experience.
Thank God. Hopefully not.
I know.
Hopefully not. Yeah.
No, I have no clue.
Look, I heard your oven story. Don't try to act like I don't know
It
what's going
happens.
on. But and in this one too, something I noticed, Murphy, was, and it's a little bit further into this video where you can really see on that drywall how at first it's like, oh, it's just set it up. We can handle that. And then literally in my mind as I'm watching, I was thinking this to myself. I was like, we could clean that. We could clean that. And then, oh, I'm sorry, it was the curtain one.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you
We
start
actually
to
had that one
see,
too, I think,
you start
Jeremiah.
to see some of that paper give way.
Yeah.
And you're like, nope, you're done.
Yeah,
That's
done.
the structural integrity.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. This one,
You can
exactly
start to see
right.
it on the back.
Which, another great example, something as simple as a candle just being a little too close
To a
to
drape, yeah.
a thin drape, and it's all over pretty
Yep.
quick. But when that paper starts to go, when you start to see wood start to alligator, is kind of how we put it.
Yeah.
There's just
Yeah.
no coming back from that.
Right.
So you obviously have a clear line in the sand of when you have to not clean it and you have to think about replacing it instead.
Yeah.
When it comes to drywall.
In fairness, frankly, to the carrier,
Yeah.
and in fairness to the client,
Yeah.
we really have to have that.
Sure.
I mean, it does us no good, and it's in nobody's best interest, quite frankly, from a relationship standpoint and just an ethical standpoint, for us to sit and go, oh no, we can clean everything. No, we can't.
Yeah,
we,
sure.
we need. There's signs.
Yeah.
You know, going in, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Now, some people may ask you, hey, can you just give it a shot? Sure, absolutely, we
Yeah.
will. But we'll
What's
tell
it gonna
people up
hurt?
front,
Yeah.
100%. We'll tell people up front if we can and we can't.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. That was a good first segment.
Are we done? No.
No, not done. We do have a segment. We do, and you've seen the episode.
Yeah.
So what we do it each week. It's our IYOW segment, our In Your Own Words segment. This segment, as always, is brought to you by Blue Leopard Agency. Blue Leopard Agency is a marketing agency that's redefining success in the digital age. Visit blueleopardagency.com today to discover how they can tailor a marketing plan that's as unique as your brand. Don't wait. Take the first step toward marketing success right now. So our IYOW question of the week. We kind of all brainstormed about this. We're excited about it. Drum roll going.
Good Lord, that's pressure.
As a mitigation specialist, can you clean items that are damaged by smoke? Fire is out of the question, but by smoke that are sentimental, like a wedding dress or some type of antique. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Have
absolutely.
you seen that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
okay.
So first and foremost, anything these days can be sentimental.
Right.
When I say these days, it could be anything.
Absolutely.
Sure.
There's so many things that people hold value to that you would think are just, oh, it's just a cup.
Yeah.
They're like, no, but you don't understand. That's the cup from when we first started the company, the first cup we ever made.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're going, I had no idea. So we have to kind of take that very open approach around
Sure.
it. But 100%. Of course, the things, table, cups, solid items, the process is the same.
Mm-hmm.
You start talking about wedding dresses, textiles, as we put it. Coincidentally enough, we have a machine, it's called an Asporta machine.
Okay.
It's very specifically designed to clean sewage and fire loss items.
Oh, wow.
And it actually gets them, one of the more fun statistics I get to throw out. It gets everything to 99.996% contaminant free. So it's basically food grade clean.
Yeah.
And we have 100% cleaned porcelain dolls. There's a way to put these items into
And not break it?
It's a washing machine the size of this table, basically. Yeah. So there's a way you can put in an insert. You can pin them to the side to where they can't jostle.
That's not weird looking.
But you can yeah, well, you can pin it to the side, and then it goes through and washes it, just like in a front load type washing machine.
Yeah.
But the way that it works is that the technology pushes the water through the fabrics, so it effectively flushes them versus just everything banging around like in a conventional system. But
very neat.
We've done that. We've had somebody that had a wedding dress, and the insurance company said, well, no, there's no way. We're just not going to do it. And it was multi-generational as far as this dress. And we actually went to the client. It wasn't the reverse. We said, hey, let us just try.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if it doesn't clean, we're not going to bill for it. I just want to see. Let me see if we can do it. And we didn't get it 100%, but it was enough to where she said, absolutely, I want that back.
Sure.
I want to make sure I get that. And we said, that's no
Wow.
problem. Adjuster was okay with it.
Yeah.
And kind of win-win for everybody.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it's awesome.
Yeah, so like from your point of view, they're saying, hey, let us just do it anyway, regardless of the cost. What is the cost to use something like that?
Well, and that's the thing. So in that instance, it was, hey, I'll do it. I'll pay for it. I just want to see if we can get it clean.
Right.
Because
Right.
we're nerds about this stuff. We like to see what we can do.
I'm
And
getting
so,
there,
yeah. See, come on, man,
I'm
come to the
getting
dark
there.
side. Murphy's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing we tell adjusters. The cost for replacement versus the cleaning through this Asporta is about 25% of what replacement is.
Absolutely.
So if I'm talking to an adjuster and they're like, well, I don't know. I said, man, look, just try it.
Absolutely.
Even if it doesn't work, and we've had this, I said, even if it doesn't work, we need to be paid for the attempt to the clean, but you're out 25%. Taking the chance on getting it clean, which our clean rate success is huge. I mean, I can only really think of maybe 10 items all in that we have not been able to clean back.
So
to
very good
pre-loss.
success rate. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was like, for 25% of the clean rate versus replacement with probably, if I had to guess, 90% clean rate efficiency on turning something back to pre-loss, absolutely worth it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Good IEL segment.
Yeah.
A little bit longer, but that was good. I like that.
I
Good
told you
IEL.
early. You got to tell me.
No, no, you talk all you want.
The high
That's
side.
why you're here. You're like a baseball coach.
That's exactly right. That's right.
We played baseball growing
What's the
up, so-
indicator?
Yeah, exactly. Right here. All right, so adjuster side of things. Obviously, we talked mitigation a lot, and we still want to talk mitigation even in the second part of this. But as an adjuster, what are your first steps? You're a field adjuster. You get a fire loss assigned to you. I'm sure a lot of them are the same, but some of them may be different. What do you do?
Yeah, a lot of
What's your
similarities.
checklist?
Yeah, now the first thing is, especially with a fire loss, we want to take advantage of that initial contact.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we want to take an opportunity to kind of get with the insured and discuss, find out from their experience what the extent of the loss actually is. Kind of like what you mentioned earlier, T. John. But we also want to ask critical questions, something like, first of all, were you at home when the loss occurred? Were there any injuries sustained as a result of the loss? Will contents be involved with loss? Will the insured be displaced as a result of the loss?
Yeah,
And
will they
that
have to
way,
use that
we,
ALE?
it's
Yeah.
a lot of preparation. That way, exactly. We need to know whether or not we're going to be diving into the
Right.
ALE portion of the claim as well. And then we also want to get with that insured and find out, have they spoken with a representative from the fire department?
Right.
Because a lot of what our claim is going to consist of is going to result around that fire report that we receive. So any kind of opportunity we can get a jump on the entirety of the process, that's going to be a lot of our origin procedures. But we also need to be prepared to talk to witnesses in case, for instance, if the insured wasn't home at the time the loss occurred. We need to be prepared to get with neighbors or any potential witnesses that might have been present before the might can assist us with finding out how everything happened. And then we also need to have a plan in place or discuss the preparation with the carrier, because each carrier might have a different
like a set of guidelines.
Exactly, as far as involving an OE or an outside expert, because that's going to be necessity, especially depending on the extent of the loss, whether or not that necessity is there to involve that OE.
Yeah. Would you rather, or I'm not even going to say would you rather, because that's not the best way to word it. Have you had situations where they've already been called before you ever get the claim?
Oh, absolutely.
And have you had them vice versa?
Absolutely.
Which way would you rather it?
Well,
or does it matter?
For the sake of the insured, is just we always want to put that insured's betterment in front of our own wants or desires.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the insured, we want that mitigation company to get in there and, hey, let's get this insured back to where they were before the loss occurred as quickly and exponentially as possible. But that's a lot of times. That happens a lot where the mitigation is already on site and has begun their process before we arrive or have been assigned the claim.
Do you have a preference either or?
Yeah,
you get called or the adjuster gets called?
It's
Doesn't
funny
matter?
when you asked. I've been sitting here thinking about it. I think it. One thing I think I would say is I think it depends on how clean, quote unquote, clean is the loss.
Right. Yeah.
If we've got a loss that's super sticky and cause of loss is a big question mark.
Yeah.
Was
Sure,
it nefarious,
absolutely.
things like that.
Yeah.
I think personally, I would say, look, I'd love for you to be there.
Yeah.
Be there first, understand, get that lay of the land.
Yeah.
To make sure we're pushing through that process, because that's something, frankly, you drive, you control, you know the best avenues to get that done.
Yeah.
I think if it's a real straightforward loss, to your point, the customer was home, they know they did it, they were frying food, everything else.
Accident,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let us in there.
Yeah.
I mean, the faster we can get to it and get things done, the better we want to be. But I think there is a bit of that dynamic where you've got to you do have to take a beat. Again,
Absolutely.
It's the tough part about the business too, is you want to move fast, but at the same time you need to take a beat and go, okay, which direction is this thing going to go?
And there's going to be some times that the insured has already called them. That was the first thing they did. They called they called ServPro before they even filed the claim. To get a jump on things.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's a good point too, because like I said, maybe it doesn't matter who comes first. Now, all right, in the case where, I hate to use the word, but if it's arson, and you can tell that, hey, this is not sudden, it's not accidental. Those are obviously words we use as adjusters. What's your kind of process there? Does the cleaning still go the same, or do you kind of have to, like you said, take a beat and talk to him first and say, hey, this is what we notice?
Yeah, 100%.
Because they may not know.
Yeah, how we look at it in those cases, and it's true, literally, frankly, is it's a crime scene.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is. So
absolutely.
If we get any kind of hint or indication from the fire department or anything like that, I say very rarely. I just can't think of one. If it's happened, somebody will call me out. But I don't think we have ever started a fire without having that initial communication. We started this whole conversation around how the communication is so crucial.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to tell us right out of the rip
there you go.
hey, we have a concern. We have a hesitation.
Yeah.
And our immediate reaction needs to be, okay, we're going to stand back until you're ready. Because I think, again, it was mentioned in a prior series or a prior video of this series where if we went in there and did our job, look, we clean up bio.
Yeah.
We our job is to make it look like things didn't happen.
Right,
Absolutely.
So that's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Is for us
Contributing to the crime scene.
Exactly right. Yeah, we are the cleaner.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. So I mean, we really don't want to get in there and just start doing what we do with all the best intentions in the world.
Sure.
And completely destroy the insurance company's position,
absolutely.
a fire department trying to make sure
Yeah.
they can do their job.
Yeah.
We really don't want to.
And I've actually had 4 instances where the outcome was, hey, this was occurred as a nefarious act of the client or the insured.
Yeah.
And that's such a great question to ask, Murphy. And the thing about it is, on the adjuster side of things, we're never going to be the one to conclude that. As I mentioned earlier, your ServPro or your mitigation company, especially when you've been working with one that's been doing this quite a while, they should get hints when that is actually the case.
Yeah.
And that's why that communication comes into play so much, is that communication might be a good indicator for us to reach out to hire that outside expert who's going to be the one to make that determination.
Yeah.
Right.
But great question, Murphy.
So when you have an outside expert, you have to wait. Do you have to wait a certain way for them to do their investigation and all that?
And it is. That's a lot of it is that waiting game.
And have you ever been in one where the fire department noticed it first, and they called it in before even the claim was called in.
Now, typically, your fire department, their report is a lot of times they're going to be doing all they can, but their primary goal is to diminish but so there a lot of times their fire report is going to involve a lot of facts, but it's not going to be as specific as far as the causation.
Okay.
And then that turnaround period, and that's another good point to add is on the adjuster side of things, we need to be making sure that in the waiting game that we're being efficient in doing certain things like putting an estimate together, putting the facts of the loss of what we can while we wait on that outside experts report, because that can sometimes take up to 2 to 3 weeks to receive.
Yeah. You know, and I'm glad you mentioned estimates there, because obviously adjusters got to write an estimate. You guys obviously have to write an estimate too. How often do you have to write a comparable estimate between the two of you? Like, do you work together to say, I got this,
Yeah.
maybe you need to change that? How does that work?
Yeah, I think on the comparable side, where we see it is at the end.
Yeah.
And typically, at least our experience, Rusty,
Yeah, I know,
your
absolutely.
feedback here, is the adjuster's estimate's ready way before ours is. Because an adjuster comes on site, assesses what they see, and writes their estimate. We approach it a bit differently because sometimes you can't see everything that's there. You could have stacked material. You could have all sorts of different contributing factors. So our approach on the estimate is we come in, we do the work, we write the estimate off the scope. Now, once that takes place, 100%. We're firing our estimate over to the adjuster. Hey, here's what we have. The adjuster comes back. Well, this is what I had. All right, well, let me explain to you why it was different. We discovered X, Y, and Z.
Right.
This is where we are. And make sure we come together. And I'll be frank, hey, look, nobody's perfect. We've had situations where adjusters have gone, well, wait a minute, are you sure? Was it this or was it this? We go, you know what? They clicked the button wrong. They typed the code wrong.
Sure.
The material selection wasn't X, it was Y.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But rarely it's that. It's more just that clarification around, hey, I know what I saw day one.
Yeah.
Walk me through what you guys found between 1 and 15.
Right.
That's what I need to know.
So, like, if he knows something on his side as the adjuster, like, hey, this is not going to be covered due to X, Y, Z, does that affect how you guys write up your estimate?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And here's why. It's more about how the scope could be performed.
Sure.
Because if day one Rusty comes to me and goes, hey, man, not for nothing, but we can't cover any of the floors.
Yeah.
So our immediate conversation is to the homeowner, which most great adjusters have already had this conversation with the homeowner. So we're just going to him and go, okay, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
We've got a philosophy in our business. If mama wants a baby purple hippo, mama gets a baby purple hippo.
Yeah.
I'm here to service you.
Yeah.
You tell me what you want, and I'm going to do it.
The
Just
job's
know,
still got to be done.
Yeah.
That's right.
Still gotta
Just
be
know
cleaned.
you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Taking the words right out of my mouth. A lot of it, your better adjuster or your more experienced adjusters are going to avoid that conflict resolution in the end by using great communication in the beginning. Finding out, from that insured, have you hired a mitigation company, and then getting with that direct representative from that mitigation company and find out where they're at with their process and what they plan on doing, what their future steps are. That way we're on the same page throughout the entirety of the process and not having to pinpoint certain things or remove or add things there at the end. And you've mentioned it several times throughout this course is communication is everything. And making sure that we're on the same page throughout the entirety of the process will avoid a lot of that conflict resolution in the end.
That's what separates, frankly, the goods from
Absolutely.
the greats, or the horribles
Absolutely.
from the greats.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, our air movers aren't special. Our chemicals aren't that special. Our rubber sponges aren't magic. We don't have a barrel of pixie dust that makes us different. It's about how you interact with the customer. It's how you interact with the adjuster. It's your processes.
Right.
That's the biggest piece.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question there. I had a claim several years ago that was a fire and flood loss. Like literally, fire burned the house to about 3 feet. That's where the fire stopped because
The flood put it out.
the flood water came up about 2 feet or so, and it was a brick. I mean, everything was in shambles. Say that the brick didn't fall or whatever, the house was still standing. I mean, have you ever dealt with anything like that? Because then you've got 2 adjusters plus,
Good God, no, one's bad enough. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I mean, would you,
No, I'm just kidding.
obviously you would clean different, but I mean, or would you, how would you handle that? Or
Yeah,
have you ran across that?
It's interesting that question kind of goes back to when we were at the expo together. A lot of hey, what happens when you've got multiple sources, multiple causes? We have not had that.
Okay.
That's a first to hear. You've got, now I can see it.
Mhm.
Big bad storm, struck by lightning, house is on fire, here comes the flood, puts it out. The biggest piece is it's a team effort. We would come in, and if it was Rusty, I'd be like, all right, man, look, here's what I see, and here's what I can tell. I've got a flood line here. I've got smoke there. It's the second story's doing this. First story's doing this. How do you want to divvy this up?
Right.
Do you want to treat from here down for flood, and I can break that out and give it to you? Do you want to do here up as fire?
Right.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah. That really is.
I just don't feel like there's
Because it's two different
there's
policies.
never a one answer kind of stamp it, and this
Mhm.
is how we do it. It's just too complex.
Yeah, because if you tried to do it all, Rusty is the property adjuster, Julie is the flood adjuster. They want to each get paid for what they
100%.
write.
Yeah,
we can't just do it all for one person. Yeah.
And you know,
somebody's coming for me. That's what I know.
The adjuster is in no way here to say, okay, this is how it's going to be done.
Yeah.
And it also the mitigation company. So, like you said, that's a perfect example. It is absolutely a team effort. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to great communication.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was good.
Yeah.
This is good. This is a really good episode.
We got any other problems we need to solve? 'Cause we're
Oh,
killing it.
we
I'm
got
just
time,
saying.
don't we? We got time for other problems. I know we do have some Q&A. Some Q&A from the audience. Let me go in here. All right, so first question, and I'm reading the question. This is from Max. Shout out to Max. What type of masks have remediators found effective and not too big or too bulky? Are there canister type necessary for smoke and or mold? I know we talked about smoke a lot, but let's touch on mold there.
Sure. So typically, an N95 will get you where you need to go.
Okay.
Especially because it's all about the level of filtration you need.
Yeah.
So when you're in a smoke, let's start with smoke. If you've got an N95, you're just trying to keep those particulates out. I mean, it kept out COVID, so it must be okay.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. So on the mold piece, though, I will 100% tell you, if I'm in a really heavy loss, i.e. yesterday, our team came back, showed me pictures that literally just made me take a step back. It was rough. You're far better to put on at least a half mask. A half mask respirator is the way to go. We call them pancake filters, but I think they're P200, something like that. It's the easiest thing to do, and it's just a higher level, better level of filtration.
Yeah. And could I buy those?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Where would I get them? Could I get them like at Lowe's, like a hardware store, or do I have to go somewhere
I think
specific?
Lowe's, honest to goodness, I think Lowe's actually does have them because painters use them. I mean, they're used
that's
throughout
true.
different construction elements and things like that.
So when you say N95, you're talking about so that's the category, not the actual brand name.
No, it's just the type of mask. So like N95, we all got really used to in 2020, right?
Yeah.
So, that's the standard. And then when I call those P200s, it's an actual respirator is the first part.
Yeah.
And the P200 are the little cartridges that click
Yeah.
in on the side.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, you can get them with carbon filters in them too. So if you have a lot of odor. So regrettably, bios, things of that, or sewage for some people, if they're kind of sensitive, you can have that carbon filter in there as well, which helps to negate some of the smell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm really not being funny. Could you, with the carbon filter, could you have like something scented? Or do they have that?
I've never
like
seen that.
Okay, I'm just.
So I'll tell you this: we've never had that, but
Okay.
this is an old school kind of mitigator trick. You take a little Vicks Vapor Rub, you put it on your top lip, and so
Yeah,
the whole
that would-
time, look, you walk in some bios, you learn.
Oh, I
tricks.
bet.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would
bet.
think you'd need a little something
Yeah.
extra.
Yeah, you put a little Vicks right on your upper lip, and at least you're smelling
Moving on
menthol
from
all
the
day
bio
versus
before I-
whatever.
That's actually it.
Do a whole new live
I remember
episode.
that. Another question we have is, what's the best way to get smell out of your own clothes? Like if you're trying to do this yourself, I'm not going to call ServPro. I'm going to take. Everybody eventually gets to a mitigation company, but most people think, I can handle this myself. Same thing with repairs. I don't want to file a claim. I'll fix my roof myself. So when it comes to smoke damage, like to their own clothes, what's the best way for them to do it if you had to tell somebody?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to wash it at home, I have to admit the first thing I'm going to say is, look, just remember these are all contaminants. And when you finish cleaning what you're cleaning, you're going to pull those clothes out and you're going to put in your baby's nightgown. You're going to put in your child's school uniform.
Great point.
Something to think about. Not saying you can't, just something to think about. Beyond that, as far as what's the best thing to get it out, I'll be honest, I don't have a go-to detergent or anything like that. It's to sound as least scientific as possible, it's going to be the smell test. It's just use a detergent. I would say if you can, find an oxidating detergent, because you really do want to try to take advantage of some of those oxidizing principles.
Yeah.
Same reason we use ozone to get rid of smell. It's oxidants. It's oxidizing that helps.
Yeah.
And just wash it. I'll also say if you do it, it's going to take a couple times.
Sure.
It's not going to be a one and done. And this we have found people who were like, yeah, no, we're good. We washed it and it was good to go. Then they put it all back in their closet and they shut the door. And we get a call 2 weeks later. Our whole closet smells like smoke. Right. Because right when you first pulled it out, it smelled kind of fresh and nice, fragrances and detergents, things like that. Then you put it in an enclosed area and you let it sit there and cook.
Right.
And then you open your closet door and it about knocks you over. So it's just, it's a tough thing in fabrics. That's why we bought, I mean, look, that Sporta machine's ridiculous, like $60,000 machine. It's because you have to push all those contaminants out of the materials.
Right.
Right. Well, for just basic smoke stuff in your kitchen towels, when people have fires in their oven, vinegar works.
Yep.
Sounds like
But
you're saying that from experience.
I'll tell you right now.
I know a person.
Right.
I know it, guys.
It's a testimony. Yeah, exactly. Asking for a friend.
But now, as far as bio, like yucky stuff, I would bleach it or take it somewhere or just throw it away. But just for like smoke smell, light, because it wasn't bad, vinegar works.
Yeah. Now, again, may sound silly, but like when a team of people goes out there, do they all wear the jumpsuits, or can they just wear regular clothes?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the level of soot.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece.
Yeah.
Typically, we won't make everybody wear Tyvek, depending if it's kind of a normal fire.
Okay.
Now, if you're in a house that truly was pretty engulfed and you're dealing with more of, frankly, cleanup than restoration, a lot of times we will wear suits just to try to protect our people. You don't, it's again, like we said earlier, and Rusty, I think you kind of echoed, you don't know what's burnt up. You don't know what residuals are on things. Heck, they used to use wood soaked in creosote for structural elements with houses. That'll really mess you up if you come in contact. So in those really heavy burns, severe burns, where we're not trying to restore anything, it's more, hey, get in there and haul it all to the dumpster.
More demo.
Right, exactly correct. More demo. We'll wear Tyveks in that situation to protect our people. But typically, you can get these Tyvek sleeves that really just protect the areas that are coming in close enough to do the clean.
Right.
Because if not, you're going to look like you had a sleeve at the end of the day. You'll be soot from the end of your shirt to your wrist for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a good one. What about like the smoke smell? All right, so if you're just wearing the sleeves, does the smoke smell get on your clothes?
Oh, 100%.
Well, then what do you do with that?
You
just wash them.
If you're honest to goodness, I'll tell you, if you're our people, you go home, you take them off, you put them in a bag, they bring them back to the shop,
Okay.
and we throw them in. We wash them all for everybody.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just because it's look.
So now I know where to take my stuff when I.
That's right.
Or when
what's the address? I'll take
If I see a bag of cooking towels, I'll know where it came from.
Right.
Sure.
I'll
There you
put
go.
some cookies with them or something.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'll
Fair
bake
enough.
something.
There you go. All right. Well, I thought all this was really good. Obviously, T. John, we appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for
we
having
do
me.
want to mention something that we failed to mention at the beginning. This is my fault. Obviously, we have a lot of training classes coming up. You both can speak to that. Both of you are teaching. I am as well. T. John may be involved in some of that. No, I'm just joking.
Sure.
We actually have a fire loss training course coming up.
He's your
Not afraid of it.
No.
there you go. Guest speaker.
There we
So
go.
anyway, again, a lot of upcoming training. We want to direct all of our folks that are looking to get into that training to go to our website, www.adjustingexpectations.com/education/classes. You can also email recruiting@cnc-resource.com. Again, that's recruiting@cnc-resource.com. You can request a registration link from there to see if you qualify, because most of these classes are what they call private classes. They're not just open to the public. You have to have, meet some sort of qualifications in order to take them. So that way we make sure we get the right people for these specific jobs. So we've got in-person, face-to-face, webinars, all of those coming up. As we always say, hit the bell icon so you get notified of future content. Like and subscribe. Any closing comments from anybody?
Well, next time we have FEC.
That
with
is.
the floor.
That's May 30th.
Yes.
May 30th.
May 30th?
2 Thursdays from now.
It's the day before my birthday, which rumor has it that's up to be voted on a national holiday. Yeah.
That's impressive.
I mean, it's a rumor.
It's
I started
a rumor.
it, but that's okay.
It's a rumor of one at this point. Got it.
But no, that's going to be a really cool episode.
Yeah. That was a live on site. Yeah,
It
at our
was.
training house.
And
that was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Flooring and damage by water, right?
Yep.
Yep. You'll have
That'll
to
be
join
good.
us. Yeah.
You'll watch that.
Heck yeah, I will.
I know you'll watch.
I love it. Yeah, but now that I know you don't have a training house, I'll get with Craig. We can set that sucker on fire.
Absolutely.
He's listening somewhere. He just heard that.
I think I just heard him yell.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
He'll be coming through that door in about 5
That's exactly
seconds.
right.
So again, T-John, we appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you
being
for
here.
having
Knew you. Obviously, you're in the area in
Right.
town. We appreciate you being
Oh,
here.
and anything you saw in the videos, remember, do not, under any circumstances,
Try
do
and
that
make
at home.
No.
Your home, your neighbor's home, your enemy's home, your school, nowhere.
Yeah.
We were.
Good cover.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You like that?
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
sound advice.
I know, too, for our folks that are on the roster, our CNC adjusters,
Yes.
in order to get your CNC points for
Yes.
watching this episode, the link will be dropped into the chat. Make sure you click on it, get your points. If you're not already on the roster, you can just fill out the application on www.adjustingexpectations.com, so that way you can get the points on any future episodes.
And we announced the winner next time?
Yes,
On the
May
30th?
30th, we announced the winner
Okay,
of the
for my
customer
birthday.
service adjusting plan.
See?
Told you.
I didn't say set the whole thing on fire, just a part of it on fire.
You look like you're on fire.
I'm offended you didn't call me to clean up after the water for the
Nah.
for the flooring deal next time. I'll have to get that figured out. Just let me know if we need to send it through.
That was not me.
Craig, we appreciate you dropping in.
Yes.
Running in.
Look at that pretty mug.
All right, good deal. Well, again, thank you from all of us
Yes.
for joining us again today for part 3 of our Lighted Up series. We will see you again in 2 weeks with our episode with FEC, Stephen Pace and his team.
Yes.
Super excited about that as well. So,
And thanks, T-John.
yeah,
My
and thank
pleasure.
you again,
Thank
T-John.
y'all.
We appreciate it.
It's awesome. Always fun.
All right, see you next time.
Bye, guys.